Hey, Sia, how are you?
Hi, Matt. I'm good. Thank you.
Oh, good. Thank you for joining us today. I just went through before we went to a break. I just went through a little bit of a mini rant on the state of the press in in Idaho and the emergence of so many great outlets, specifically what you're doing over on X. On where people can be informed, get the news, and not necessarily sit in the narrative that's spun for us through folks in the mainstream. So, I just want to kind of turn the floor over to you because you're such a great host on X in the X spaces that you all do. And oh, looks like we just lost your shot. Can we still hear? Can we still hear Sia?
Yeah,
Oh yeah, there
I'm
we go.
here. I'm
Okay,
here. Sorry. I tried to get my laptop to work
that's
and I
okay.
couldn't. So I thought maybe I could toggle over to X really quick to look at some responses to something. It's fine. I'm
Okay.
good.
All right, great. Well, yeah, so
Yeah.
like I'm saying, I want to welcome you and turn it over to you and kind of explain sort of the background and the impetus behind setting up Assemble X and what it is.
I'd be happy to. Um, Last year in 2023, I would say it was right around and give me a 2 minute warning if you don't mind, Matt. It was around the time where the Speaker of the House was being chosen, and Idaho in specifically were very upset with the decisions that Mike Simpson was making. And in order to, and so a group of people got together, and I know this was done all over the country. A group of people got together and actually did calls and all kinds of things, got people on the phone from legislature and then we kind of went our way and we also did something with this other group where we were driving the Restrict Act to stop. So the Restrict Act used to be called the TikTok ban last April. It was never a TikTok ban. It was Patriot Act 2.0, and they're still trying to get it passed. So those two things, the action taken behind those things felt like, okay, we can do more. We can do more. And so a guy by the name of Jeff started Assemble X. I, being in Idaho, was the first state to start it. And the goal is to look at what, the First Amendment says is the right to peacefully assemble and to assemble at a local level, or at least the most local level that we can. In Idaho, for example, I'm in Ada County, but we're going to be spreading out into all the other counties and districts to get ambassadors on board to reach out to their local people. And the goal is to organize, to share information. We'll be focused a lot in Idaho on precinct committee voting that's coming up and candidate series, especially. Excuse me. But there's also topics like ranked choice voting that need a lot of attention. I think that are one of the most important things to Idaho that may ever be at this point, because I come from a state that had jungle primaries, which is pretty much the same, and it destroyed the country. The state, it really did.
Yeah.
Um, the host of Assemble X Idaho is Karen. She's behind the drummer. You'll see in that picture. The drummers are all the states' logos. If you see a bunch of drummers, they're from a state that's Assemble X. We've got to about 22 states. The bigger states are things like Georgia, North Carolina, California is growing a lot. Jersey is launching tonight. Highly recommend New Jersey, and I'll tell you why in a second. Um, I'll be able to get the list in just a second. But if I go and look, then you lose my video. So 22, 22 states. It takes a lot because there's a lot of vetting that's done by a woman by the name of Phenomenology. She's very popular on X, excellent spaces host. She does all the vetting. We need to make sure that the people that are hosting are who they say they are and that can actually host a space. It's a fine line, right? We want to get people on board, but we wanted to make sure that it's the right people. And typically the format would be something like a topic or a candidate. and the speaker, the host and co-host would ask them some questions. We invite people up on stage and they're able to ask questions. We've done a lot with the Freedom Caucus here in Idaho. There are Freedom Caucuses, probably
can you
15.
real quick, can you explain, because there's a lot of folks out there that don't really know what a space is. Can you explain what
Yep.
this is? Because talking about people going up on stage and stuff, I mean, I know the terminology, but what is an X space?
I forget. I forget
I
sometimes.
know, right?
Right. So new Twitter is called X, and X is probably the most uncensored, free speech conversations you can have with large groups of people being able to have that conversation. A space is like a town hall, visual town hall, digital town hall, where you have speakers on the panel. We call it on a stage. You access the space. You listen in like you would a radio show. If you have a question, you request a mic, then you raise your hand, and you're often called on, and you can ask questions of the candidates or the experts that we may have at that time. It is literally the future of media. I only listen to X. I don't listen to the radio anymore. I don't watch television. All of my knowledge, I definitely don't get it from Facebook. People who are not on X at this point really need, in my opinion, if you are liberty minded, if you want to save the country, if you care as much as so many people do and don't know what to do, you go on X, you follow Assemble X states, which gives you a list of all the different states that are running. And if you don't see your state, shoot a message and say, hey, I'm a good host. I want to host a space. I know political contacts. We can have a great agenda and that sort of thing. We started November 15th in Idaho. And as I said, we're up to about 22, 24 states. So, a space is anonymous. You don't have to create an X account and be yourself. A lot of anonymous accounts are there. People are always afraid they're going to know, bosses are going to know. No, they don't have to know. You don't have to put your picture. And we will be creating some how-tos that we'll post probably on Rumble or YouTube to help explain to people. And we do have postcards that we pass out at local events, grassroots, local ground level events in person. I happen to have a mobile job. I go into people's homes, and if I get the feeling that they might be open to the possibility, I give them a card. It has how to access this and all that and all of that information. When the better weather comes, we're going to be at festivals, we'll be at gun shows, we will be at, name it, farmers markets. As long as we can get the people engaged in these states, that's what's going to make it or break it.
Yeah, and one great example that I found very helpful was Saturday night after the caucus. You threw up an X space, and dozens of people joined to share their personal experiences about how their caucus went across the state and at their precinct. And we heard many different stories. And yeah, I got to raise my hand and jump in there and tell my experience. And I'm in North Idaho, and you're down in South, and then there was people on the East, and everybody just kind of got to come in and say hello for a while. And it was such a great experience, and it was so easy. Like you said, you could be anonymous. You didn't have to set up a camera like we did here today. And it could happen at any time, and it's happening right from your mobile phone. And so that's what I really found. I just find this so great. And can you kind of go through some of the guests that you've had on, some of the high profile folks that you've had on? And then if it's possible, can you go back and listen to some of the old broadcasts that happened? But who were some of the guests that came on?
Okay, so I sent a message out to all of our drummers, which is the state's accounts, to get a good idea of what their best accounts were. I know some off the top of my head. So I will. And by the way, that broadcast is on my page. I forgot to put my drummer uniform on. I forgot to go in as Assemble X Idaho, which is the biggest mistake I ever made. But anyway, it was a good space. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I really did. we had Rick Grinnell on a space a couple months ago. It was on Assemble X Idaho, and he was fantastic. That space is pinned on many places, but you can go look at all the past spaces. If you are on X, Assemble X Idaho to the highlights page, you'll see all the previous ones. We've had NASCAR drivers. We've had I can't think of the guy's name right now. He's the gun guy, Garen Thumb.
Oh, yes, yes.
Right. I believe that the AK guy running in Texas has been on another Assemble X space. We get, people. We've had Dorothy Moon on. We get the Freedom Caucus on a regular basis here in Idaho. So important to get involved with your Freedom Caucus. And something I just want to mention, because I think it's just, my eyes are just starting to open at Matt, and I know I'm out of time. So, but let me just say this. Maricopa County recently, and by the way, we need Arizona hosts. So if you're a host, you want to be a host, you can send a message to either Assemble X Idaho, at Assemble X Idaho, or Matt, and he can send it to me.
That's right.
Okay, so they recently absolutely threw the Board of Supervisors out of the room by reading them a document that said you have violated the interests of the state of Idaho or the county of Maricopa. By the end of it, they all got up and walked away. Now, I don't know what's going to happen exactly with that, but on a space that New Jersey is kicking up tonight, one of the things that their morning space talks about is individual rights, literally to the point of when somebody goes and puts their hand on a Bible and takes an oath, they're really not taking an oath by law to the people. They're taking an oath to the state. There are laws, there are things that are being put together that individuals can actually use against our corrupt government that they can't do anything about. So stay tuned to Assemble X Idaho, and we'll be posting all of that information.
Great. Oh, we're losing. Sia, I think we just lost you. We're scrolling through the site now. We want people to go to X, go to Assemble X, and we've lost your feed, I think. But that happens. Here's the site here. Do we lose myself too, or am I still on? I just see a full wide screen. Okay, it's me. Okay, well, it looks like we lost Sia, but I thank Sia for coming on. Pappanastos, I believe I said her last name correctly there. Please go to Assemble X Idaho. Follow the account there, and like she said, there's it's sweeping the country. Almost half the states have an Assemble X account. So head over there and follow that. It's a great place to stay informed. Okay, folks, it's the top of the hour. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back. Thanks.
It's our job to maintain the proper role of government and what we were tasked to do.